You know, it's funny, Spenny, we're going to talk about what the Lions have done, okay? But you were talking about this heading into the break, and I think this goes hand in hand, all right? So yeah, Myles Garrett would have been great, right? We all know what that was now. He played everybody. Good for him. Tip of the cap. I mean that. That's what it's all about. You get your bag. You do what's best for you. I'm not going to hate on a guy for that, okay? Hendrickson, whatever the case may be. Okay, like Zeitler, listen, what has changed? Were the Lions going to go get an edge or a D lineman early on while you're in? Nothing's changed. They still would have. Were they going to get an interior lineman? Nothing's changed. They still would have. And I still don't think all the years, Mac, that I've been a quote-unquote draft beatnik, if you will, one thing that I've noticed is I still don't think we know what the teams and the league really thinks about these players. Because in January, when you start to see the mock drafts come out, they're almost useless. Now, I'm a hypocrite. I read every one of them. Absolutely, positively. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of somebody who tries to tell me that they know what Steve Yzerman's going to do. Once you tell me that, now I know you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. None. As soon as you say those words to me, it's like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Who's is there anybody that knows what Steve Yzerman?
Nobody does. You know that the man's a steel trap. That's what part of the reason that makes him such a good general manager. So that's the way that the mock drafts are in January. We don't have any clue. Now we're getting to the point in time after the combines and more leading into April, you start to hear more whispers. And I think you start to see a more batten down, if you will, look at what the first round might be. Are there guys that might be available? You know what's really weird? What I've seen is a guy that was in the top 10 for a lot of people not too long ago in James Pierce at Tennessee. All of a sudden, he's in shouting distance of the Lions now.
I'm still not buying it, but yeah.
Right, but nor am I.
Yeah, to your point.
Do you remember a few weeks ago, Mike Green, the stud for Marshall? He was in shouting distance. He's not in shouting distance anymore. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, he's gone like this. Even with the character issues, this is a guy that's going to go long before the Lions draft. So to that point, you guys, I don't know what's changed. Yes, they're probably going to get an end. They're probably going to get a DL. They're probably going to get an IOL. Like that, nothing's really changed. And I think what has changed, Mac, in the time that we've watched football, guys like you and I, you collect guys up front now. You collect them. You collect guys in your defensive backfield. We grew up in an era, Mac, where we had the silver rush, where there were four guys predominantly on the field for first, second, and third down. There was the steel curtain in Pittsburgh. There was the doomsday defense in Dallas. Those days are long gone. You've got interchangeable pieces in there right now. So, with that being said, what's your overall feeling? Spenny, I'm going to start with you. What's your overall feeling on what the Lions have done so far? When you go down the list, depth signings, very important signings, but what's your overall feeling?
I mean, I'm neutral. Like the DJ Reed signing was amazing. It was a fantastic signing, one of the best contracts given out so far in NFL free agency. They haven't really done much outside of that. I like bringing back Levi. I think that's important. He showed he could play 16 games last year. Mm-hmm. He has a very good pressure percentage. When you look at his pressure percentage compared to the other defensive linemen that got signed yesterday, or the other defensive tackles, he is second behind only Jonathan Allen when it comes to behind Milton Williams when it comes to pressure percentage and that interior defensive line, and he's making a fifth of what Milton Williams is making, and he showed he could stay healthy last year, so that's a good signing, I believe, to get back some depth there. But I'm not mad at fans if they wanted more. I'd like to see them bring in an edge. It doesn't have to be a Trey Hendrickson or a Myles Garrett or somebody like that, but I'd like to see them replace Zadarius Smith with somebody you can bring in and put out there. And having Marcus Davenport, Josh Pascal, whoever that is, and then a first-round rookie, because I believe that's what Brad Holmes is trying to do. I believe Brad Holmes is going to use capital to trade up in the first round of the draft to get his guy to pair next to Aiden Hutchinson for the next 5 years on a rookie deal. And I'm okay with that. But I can understand why fans aren't happy with them doing nothing technically, even though they made the depth signings that I liked and the DJ Reed deal was great, but I still think you need to sign somebody on the edge. Somebody. Anybody on the edge. That, like a warm body out there. Because I like having Marcus Davenport there, but realistically, you can't expect him to stay healthy for an entire season. So I think you need to add another veteran out there to have as your rotational piece.
Mac, I'm at the point right now, and Spenny, I'm not going to lie. I love your idea of the whole idea of trading up a little bit.
I think it's
then
that's what he do.
Then all of a sudden, you know what? You might be in Mike Green territory.
But that's what, so there's a whole bunch to this, right?
Yep.
Because what this has told me in this offseason is that they pinpointed, like DJ Reed, like you said, they got the corner. Right, they went out. They got Lopez. They got the line. They're doing that, but they looked at their own guys.
Yeah. Right,
they looked at their own guys and said, "Our own free agents, we like." To the fact, they haven't made the splash yet.
Yeah.
So, but I'm lockstep with Spenny. Is that because Brad Holmes waits to the draft to do the splash.
you got it.
Right. So, to the factors, my question would be, pay attention to when Spenny starts breaking guys down that you don't think you're in reach for, but you might be, because all these moves that you want for this free agent might be the moves that you do in the draft to get somebody you want. I agree with you as far as we need more bodies, but I think those guys are out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think they're selling their soul on Davenport. I think that he's just the buffer and the support system to whoever that guy will be, and maybe it is one of these young guys.
I think this is, and I've heard other people say this, so I don't want to pawn this off like this is my idea. I think this is a very top-heavy top 90. I do. Mm-hmm. I think there's a hell of a lot of talent in this top 90. And in particular, if you do just a little research, okay? Just a little. Take a look at the names being thrown out there as potential picks by the Lions, just with the first two, at 30 and 60. Take a look at that. And then, oh, by the way, add in the fact that, as KG just said, this is what he does, okay? If he's in that area, and James Pierce is sitting there at 24.
If he likes him, he'll move up.
I'm going to make a phone call.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I've had a circle. I don't want to take the chance that he falls to 30. I'm going to bless you. Bless you. I'm going to bless
Times
you.
3.
I'm going to make a move to move up because we've got some capital and we've got some wiggle room. So that's why I say this again. I get it. I wanted shiny things. I get it.
We all do.
But to drop, what is this team doing? I think we're going to take a step back. On March 12th?
Is aggressive.
It's ridiculous.
And that's
15-win team.
That's
It's
the society we live in now. It's the TikTok society that they want everything right now. And if it doesn't happen right now, it's never going to happen, and the team's going to fall apart. And if they don't add 4 edges in this draft class, they'll never have anybody that can rush the passer. And Brad Holmes isn't going to bring in anybody to help them impact because it's just going to fall apart, and then the Lions are never going to win a game again. They're going to go to the bottom of the division. It's never going to happen. They're never going to see the Super Bowl. Brad Holmes is going to get fired. Dan Campbell's going to get some kind of foot cancer, and it'll never happen. The Lions are falling apart. Aiden Hutchinson will never be the same after his injury, and this defensive line will never get to the quarterback. And it's okay. Like, you got to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
And the rest of the division's getting better.
Yeah,
the rest of the division, oh my God.
And when you see the Bears and the Vikings overpaying for guys, which they are allowed to do because they have a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, so they can bring some guys in. Yeah, and they're getting bigger in the trenches, and that's fine. I am good with what they did at defensive tackle. I think they're set with their rotational defensive tackles now. When you look at, you brought in Roy Lopez, a good rotational piece. You re-signed Levi Onwuzurike to kind of take some of that pressure of not having Ali McNeil to begin the season. You've got DJ Reader. I liked what Miles Adams did in his short amount of, I'm not saying he's a difference maker, relax, but to bring him in and play a couple snaps here or there, that's fine. I think Wingo is going to have a very good role on this defensive line next year. And then when Ali McNeil comes back, that is a very good rotation of defensive tackles. But I'd still like one more veteran edge on the outside.
And you know what? At the end of the day, and we were talking about this on Monday, I'm telling you right now, the Lions aren't going 15-2.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
No.
And
But
I
they're
will
still
say
going
this
to win the
once.
division.
I will say this once. I'll say it 1,000 times. If they go 10-7 and win the division, I'm totally cool with that.
Absolutely.
The ultimate success or failure with this team will be determined in January and February.
Yep.
Period. End of story. And people will lose their collective shit. You know it. I know it. I don't even want to think about it. I'm serious. I don't even want to think about it. The first week of December going, I told you guys, this is all. Hey, Spenny, you went on that rant.
Yep.
And I sat there going, I knew Spenny was a slapdick. I knew it. And there are the Lions with a 2-game lead in the division.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not the prettiest record. KG, maybe they're, I don't know, 9-6 at the time.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
I don't
I mean,
care.
the wins really don't matter, and a lot of people thought the same thing last year, and they end up winning 15 games in the face of hella injuries. So whatever happens in the win column happens. It's all about getting to the playoffs, winning in the playoffs.
Hey, remember that unbelievable season the Wings had, your first Stanley Cup? You guys
we got in,
you guys locked
third?
yeah, you guys locked up the Presidents about 3 months before the season ended, right? Oh, wait, you didn't?
No, not that year.
Yeah.
No, that was the year before.
You get my
when
point.
We lost in the conference finals. We set the league record.
62 wins. Break the record for most wins in a season. Ran away with the President's Trophy. Got knocked out by Colorado in 6 games. The next year just meandered their way through the season, right, Mac? Just don't pay any attention to us.
Yep.
And end up winning the Stanley Cup.
That's the whole. To me, like when you said that, I'll take 10-7 health. I'll take whatever we make the playoffs with, and we're healthy.
Mm-hmm. That's what
it's availability. That's the number. That's the number one thing, because this talent, the roster that they put together and continue to put together, isn't gonna be worse. Your top guys are getting better, right? Your younger guys are gonna get better.
Now, the wagons they had, by the way, 02 and 08 were the wagons for those teams. That Mac, those 2 teams were, okay, start to finish.
So, and even with the wagon in 02, right, we still ran into
that close, right? That close, really.
Well, I mean, dude, like, but it's a perseverance, right?
Yep.
And that's the experience, I think, of not panicking and knowing what to do through the rest of it. So hopefully that's what, even though they didn't finish it off, but that experience helps them.
And
Poor
Bert,
Spenny, we haven't been on time one time today.
You're fine.
Let's
keep going till 12:10, and we'll mix the breaks together.
Okay.
Byrne in the Woodward Sports Chat says, remember in 2011 the Lions had a rookie quarterback and built a team with all free agents. Window was open. I fell into a coma in 2014. Did we run it back in 2015?
Not.
I love that you said that, because I'm serious. I have talked to multiple guys from that team that they knew 2014 was their window. Like, they didn't really hide it either.
Yeah.
They were like, it's either going to happen this year, or we're really afraid that you have to start peeling away the layers. Mm-hmm. And as good as that team was, it was a very good team. Remember, we thought our defensive coordinator was the smartest man in the history of men. And he would have been a head coach for the next 15 years, and it still hasn't happened. But guys on that team, and Mac, I think more often than not, guys know. You know how big a window is. You know, is this our last ride, et cetera, et cetera. And that was a team, to your point, Byrne, you're absolutely right. Multiple guys from that team told me, and I'm not going to say who, that they knew that year that was their window.
A 1-year window is crazy.
Really? That was, well, you have to remember the starting point too. You were just 5 years previous, the worst team that ever existed.
It's a fact.
It's
a fact.
They knew. So they knew. They were like, okay, this is all coming together. Next year it'll start to change. And then next year when it started to change, one of the best wide receivers our eyes have ever seen said, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this again.
Before we get too far off of it, what Brad Holmes has done in free agency, like Sean said, you filled a lot of your depth needs. And I think Detroit Lions fans need to go back and look at the list of free agents on this Lions team from last year. It wasn't like all the superstars. Like, it's not Kirby Joseph or Amon-Ra St. Brown or these guys. There were a lot of free agents that the Lions lost that were important depth pieces throughout this roster, and you had to go out there and you had to replace them with guys. That's why they brought back Anthony Pittman. That's why they re-signed Ezekiel Turner. That's why they signed Stewart from the Colts. And I thought, a guy who sits in that same seat you do, Sean, from 5 to 7 on the Woodward Heavyweight, shout out, handsome, debonair individual, said that the most important thing that the Lions need to wrap up, or the number one list on his list for free agency, was that defensive tackle rotation. I believe he said that on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday morning, a handsome, debonair individual by the name of Brad Holmes, who is the current GM for the Detroit Lions, went out there and he signed you 2 defensive tackles. And now you have that room locked up with rotation. So I'm happy with it. Like I said, would I like to see them to add a big defensive end for their rotation to pair with with a rookie that they draft? Absolutely, but it's probably not going to happen. They're going to get a depth piece.
Mac, honest to God, one of the things that I will never, ever understand is how people can't figure out you build with the draft, you add with free agency. I'll never, I've had that argument, and Lord knows Steve's living it. Darren, again, I hate to harken back to your days. Look at how many guys you guys picked up through the draft, and then you could go pick and pluck and put this guy in here and pick up there. You build through the draft. The base of this foundation, the concrete has been poured. It has been frozen in place for years now, Mac. It really has. We've got the foundation of this place. We've done a great job on the first floor of this place. Upstairs, we're doing a little more work, right? There's a little more work that needs to be done. Chase wants to have like this, that, and the other thing in his room. So you know what? That's the project that we're going to take on this summer. And that's where we're at right now. And yes, you can do that via the draft. You can do that via free agency. And I'm telling you right now, you can do it when guys get cut. You can.
And I hear a bunch of people saying the Lions got worse, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
Does this team right now, on paper, before the draft, before the rest of free agency, are they as good as the Detroit Lions team last year, week 1? Maybe not. Maybe not. You can make that argument, maybe not. They still have a draft to make up for that. Are they better than the Detroit Lions team that was on the field on week 17? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
Because the biggest impact signing or free agent or addition to this team is going to be a healthy Aiden Hutchinson, because before he went out, he was the defensive player of the fucking year. So there's your $40 million edge. There's your Myles Garrett. Aiden Hutchinson being healthy.
And can we come back to the very
healthy.
beginning of this? Oh, by the way, there's a draft that has 7 rounds with a guy that's kind of shown himself to be a shaman. Can we give him credit? He's kind of had some success in the draft. And there's camp, and there's other guys there are so many different ways to add to this team right now. And I keep falling back on this. Do you trust Brad Holmes? I don't think Brad Holmes has given you any reason not to. All right, we'll continue some of the Lion chatter. He's Darren McCarty, Sean Belegian sitting for Neal Rhul. The gang's all here. KG, Chase, and of course, Spenny. More Lion chatter because the NFL is king and the Lions are king of the jungle here. Like it or not, that's just the reality. On Woodward Sports, before we get there, who's going to tell the people about Dr. Pierce?
So, where do you want to go?